Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final of our three-part series on leveraging influencers at all stages of the marketing funnel. Today, we will be talking about conversion objectives, the ultimate goal for every brand. So I hope you enjoy. Just a little housekeeping as a reminder, if you have not joined before, my name is Erin Ledbetter. I am Senior Vice President at Carusele, and my role here is really about product strategy and program strategy for our clients. So I do a lot of thinking about how we can leverage influencers to move audiences down the funnel for our clients and ultimately convert to sales. So hopefully I can give you some interesting tidbits today that will be helpful for your brand. As we're going through today's webinar, as always, feel free to use that Zoom menu bar and click the Q&A button and drop in any questions that come to mind as we're going through the presentation today. I will make sure to save plenty of time in the end for that. We will also be recording today's presentation, so you don't have to jot down furiously anything I am saying. We will send it to you as a follow-up. And then you are also feel free to tweet at Carusele throughout with any questions if you have them. Use hashtag influencerwebinar to get our attention. So to get started today, if you've joined these webinars before, you know I'm a big fan of polls because I just want to understand where everybody is at as I'm going through today's webinar so I can tweak it a little bit for you. So I want you guys to just tell me, how does your brand define a conversion when it comes to marketing, online sales, retail sales, signing up for a trial, lead forms, or you don't know? And this isn't just relevant to influencer. I want you to answer it relevant to all of your marketing tactics. Give everyone just another minute here. I'm seeing a healthy mix of online sales and retail sales, some form completes as well. So we're looking for leads. Awesome. Okay. So today we'll definitely be focusing a lot on online sales and retail sales, but for those of you that are looking for trial signups and lead form completes, just anytime I say sales online, please just keep in your mind form complete as well, because the same process in terms of measurement can be applied if you are looking for online trial signups or online form complete. So I am going to stop our poll there and we will get started. So for those of you who have been here in the past, I'll spare you my joke of how old I feel for how long influencer marketing has been around. I will remind you why brands love influencer marketing. Because of the amount of time that consumers are spending with influencer-generated content makes this a pretty powerful medium. And most brands are finding it effective, which is why we're seeing budgets continue to increase and flow into this marketing medium. But you're probably here because you are among the 75% of marketers who are really struggling with ROI of their influencer program, 75% saying that ROI is the top challenge. And that's data from just this year. So it's something that despite the budget dollars that are going to influencer marketing, it's still a struggle. And so we are here today to try to solve the mystery for you guys. Not surprisingly, as marketers are complaining about not having trouble with ROI, the Wall Street Journal thought that it might be a good idea to jump on that confusion with a lovely link bait headline. It was one of those articles that, being in this industry, it's like, well, I got to read this, make sure I'm not missing anything. And I love this little statement: billions go to social media personalities in an unregulated market riddled with deceit. Now, if that is not a link bait sub headline, I guess I have never seen one before. The good news is we're going to call this fake news. I highlighted this part right here on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, where they say there is no way to measure sales or verify how many people saw your ads. Well, good news, that's wrong. I'm surprised it made the front page, but we're here today to prove to you that's wrong. So influencer marketing can verify viewable impressions. If you were in the first of our three-part series here, we talked a lot about getting past this max potential, kind of inflated numbers, the fiction that's has troubled the industry for a while, and getting down to those viewable impressions. We talked a lot about how we can actually build, not just see that people did see the content, but actually build a profile of the types of people who saw the content, both in the awareness and the consideration parts of this webinar series. And today we're going to tell you the many, many ways that you can attribute sales to an influencer marketing campaign, both direct and indirect, online and in store. I'll just remind you that the whole premise of this webinar series is that we've got to start with objectives, because the objective of your campaign is going to impact the strategy for the campaign and the tactics that end up getting executed. So your influencer marketing campaign, if you're designing it for conversion, should not look like an influencer marketing campaign designed to drive brand awareness, or an influencer marketing campaign designed to help move people down the funnel as they're considering their product options, or try to help shift perception around your brand. So the campaign should look very different, and we'll talk about today how you can measure it and then how you need to structure the campaign to make sure that you. So let's start off with measurements of success. Now, direct web conversions, this is probably something that if you are currently running influencer campaigns and you are trying to get to sales, this is the most common way that brands are doing it today. And the way it works is you give an influencer a tracked link and you hope someone clicks on that link. And then we see if someone purchased when they clicked on that link, or if you're looking for trial conversion, or if you're looking for lead conversion in terms of form completes, are they getting to a goal page or a confirmation page that suggests they took to that action? Now, the downside for the brands that are doing this is it is almost always set up as a last touch attribution model. And there's some difficulties with that, where you're likely really undervaluing what the campaign has done for your brand. And so we do recommend, if this is the only model that you can do for your brand, you try to look in your web analytics software. A lot of them have this ability where you can look not just at last touch attribution, but you can look at the activity that someone who clicked and came to your website took over a period of a certain amount of days that you preset. So you can look of, did they convert? They clicked, they came to your website, and then did they convert in some other fashion? Who cares how they got there the second time? But did they convert in a day or in 3 days? So that's really important to pay attention to. And the reason that we recommend looking at that, if all you have available to you is this last touch attribution model, is because of the customer journey. So I shared this one. This is just one example of a customer journey where what happens is this person is in the market for a pair of jeans, and they are riding the train on their way to work, and they're scrolling through their mobile phone, they're on social media, they see an influencer with this awesome pair of jeans that they just have to have, right? Well, they're on Instagram. They're not clicking through, because you can't really click through on Instagram unless you go to link in bio, and that gets all difficult and too many clicks. So they don't click through. They think about this pair of jeans all day at work, and they get home and they pull up their browser on their computer, and they have a direct traffic straight to your site. They're finding the jeans, they're looking at your size chart, they're deciding what size they might want. But let me tell you, they're not buying a pair of jeans online because they haven't tried it on. They don't know if it fits them perfectly. None of those size charts are ever right. So they're going to go in store and they're going to try on that pair of jeans before they buy. But all that process was 100% influenced by the influencer they saw wearing that pair of jeans in store. Now, that's a great little story, but we also have data to support this customer journey. So the top one is actually our data that we can get by leveraging the Facebook Pixel. And what we see here is that in our campaigns, on average, about 70% of the conversions we're able to attribute to a piece of influencer content run in an ad. 70% of those occur by people who never clicked on the content, but still made a purchase within 24 hours. So yeah, you could argue that maybe they saw something else too, but that 24-hour window is a pretty small window to be influenced by anything else. And so that's our data, but we also have Google data that confirms this as well. So Google has data based on their Play Store, very similar in the number here. 80% of users who eventually downloaded an app were exposed to an ad, but didn't click on that ad. Instead, they just went to the Play Store, they pulled up the app, and they downloaded it. So we have multiple data sets here that confirm that customer journey that I just shared. And so the challenge in influencer marketing is, in any marketing really, is how do we get to attributable web conversions without looking at that last touch attribution model? And here's an example of how we do that. So this can be done whether you own the website or whether you're selling on a third-party website. The simple way to do it is to use a tracked UTM code to help understand which pieces of influencer organic content are working and which pieces are not working, because that's the insight. If you remember what some of the stuff we've talked about in the last couple webinars here, you want to only put media dollars behind the best performing content. There's no sense in wasting those dollars on content that's not going to perform. So let's test it organically, put the media dollars behind that top performing content. And now we can leverage the data the Facebook pixel gives us to capture and optimize around conversions. Now, the Facebook pixel in this methodology is required, but it lets us really see what's happening with people who not only clicked and then purchased, but more importantly, what happens when people are just viewing a piece of content and later purchase in some other way. Now, you're probably wondering why we're recommending the Facebook Pixel, because you may be one of those brands that rolls your eyes when you look at the way Facebook is claiming the conversions that they had an impact on with their default attribution models. We totally kind of roll our eyes at that too, but that's why I want to give you here an example of a way that you can set up an attribution model with certain assumptions on the upfront that everyone's comfortable with, that doesn't leverage that default attribution window that Facebook takes 100% credit for. So I'll run you through this. This is one example for one client, but you certainly, can go down and make your own assumptions. So the first thing you're going to do is we are going to look for an organic influencer content. We're going to look at those direct conversions. Ideally, because we have that last touch attribution window issue, we don't just want to look at people who clicked and then purchased immediately, because that's, again, a very small percentage of people. If you have a 2% click-through rate and then a 2% conversion rate on that last click, your numbers are going to be pretty low. But the reality is you have people that are experiencing this content that aren't ready to buy, that are coming back and buying, still influenced by the content a little bit later. We recommend a 1 to 3 day window. You've got to decide the right window for you just based on what that average cycle is or what that average customer journey is for your brand. But whatever window you decide, you want to take 100% of those conversions. You may also be running ads on channels where that are outside of Facebook, or you may be driving to a site where you don't have control over the Facebook pixel. So you might be driving to a third-party retailer, for example. In that case, you want to try to get the exact same data in terms of that you're getting for organic, and you're going to measure it the same way. Now let's talk about the Facebook pixel, because when you are running ads on Facebook and Instagram and Messenger and basically within the whole Facebook network, you're taking this influencer content. Ideally, you're running the content from the influencers' handles themselves. You do have to have a certain type of relationship with the influencers to make that happen. But that is going to get you the most efficient spend in these campaigns. So it's definitely something we always recommend doing. And if you have the Facebook pixel installed, now we can start to get a better picture of what the campaign is itself actually delivered. So you definitely want to take 100% of those direct conversions, so people who clicked and then purchased within 24 hours. But we also want to take a portion of the credit for the indirect conversions. So in this case, it's possible that people were, influenced. They learned about the jeans from the influencer, but you've got retargeting pixels on your site and you're hitting them with ads in other ways because they landed there, and you're trying to get them to come back. And we have cart abandoners and things like that you already have other marketing methods that you're trying to bring this person back with. So we're not going to take 100% of the indirect conversion credit like Facebook does. Instead, we're going to look at link clickers who purchase within 7 days. This is one client example where on average, they know a consumer has about 2 touches from their brand a week. So we're only going to take 50% of those conversions in terms of credit. We're not going to take 100%. But we also want to look here at the people who were exposed to this content. That's our data, 70%. Google data as high as 80% of the people who convert just viewed the content, they didn't click. So we need to make sure we do take some credit for those pieces of content as well. So we, in this model here, took credit for 100% of the people who purchased within 24 hours of viewing the content. You don't have to take 100%. Again, I think you've got to decide what you are comfortable with as a brand. And then for viewers who then purchased within 7 days, we took 10%. Again, consider your customer journey, decide what you're comfortable with in terms of assumptions. But when you break it down this way, I think you'll find as you have to start reporting up the ROI in a campaign to your leadership, you'll find if you can be clear about these assumptions and the assumptions feel reasonable for what your customer journey is, it's a case you won't have too hard of a time making. So let's say you don't sell online though. What's the option here? Well, one of the, we do pretty consistently do campaigns where we're trying to sell consumer products at specific retailers. So the way that you're going to do that, we have three different ways we can measure it. One is with a correlation analysis. And what you're going to do with a correlation analysis is you're going to pull your daily sales data at that particular retailer, and you're going to correlate it to the daily delivery of impressions and engagements or video views, or depending on the types of content from the campaign, you're gonna map it directly to that sales data. We typically find that the correlation is strongest if you put a little bit of a delay in there, which makes sense, right? Again, the customer journey, I'm being exposed to this piece of content right here where someone's talking about this mascara. Well, I don't need mascara today. I'm not running into Walgreens today to go buy that mascara just because I learned about it from the influencer. I am going to buy it when I refresh my mascara every 3 to 6 months. And so we've got to keep in mind what that average sales cycle is for your product as you're looking at those delays. But what we tend to find is you'll find a pretty strong correlation if the campaign is at the right scale between the impression delivery and the sales. And you definitely, closer to 1 is a great correlation. So we want to make sure we find that. The other thing you can do, and this is actually what we did for the Revlon campaign that you see here on the screen, is a benchmark comparison. And so one of the challenges with any type of benchmark comparison is you do have to get a very clean benchmark. And a lot of times brands are just adding influencer as a checkbox in their marketing mix. And so what that means is they're pulling a lot of other marketing levers at the same time. And so all of these different variables in marketing levers, you have end caps you might be running, you have distribution that may have changed since your benchmark period. You have emails that might be going out. You have offers that might be different. So it's really important when you do a benchmark comparison that you get the data as clean as possible and you're comparing to a time period where all of those variables, including seasonality, are not going to affect the data. We were lucky enough to have this with this Revlon example here. But one of the biggest challenges with these benchmark comparisons is getting a clean benchmark. Finally, coupon redemptions. This is another thing that brands are doing a lot, where they'll give influencers an exclusive coupon, or they'll give them a link to a coupon download that can be taken in retail. And that is a great way. If that coupon is exclusive to your influencer program, it's a great way to really understand the scale of the program and what it reached. The one watch out here is keeping in mind that there is this category of consumers that just are not going to use coupons. They don't want to keep up with them. They don't want to remember them. They really just don't care. It must be nice to have that kind of money, but they don't use coupons. And so you have to understand of your consumer set, of your audience, what percentage of those people are going to buy without a coupon because they don't want to keep up with it. And you don't want to limit the sales that you're attributing to the campaign to just those coupon redemptions. So you kind of have to scale that up. Again, it's going to depend on your customer journey and your brand data to understand what that scale up should be. But it is a great way to really just hone in on what influencer did alone. The other thing you can do, so I mentioned the benchmark period, and sometimes it is very, very hard to find a previous historical period where the benchmark is clean. So another way to do this is with a regional sales test. So instead of setting a time-based benchmark period, you're going to compare sales in one region to sales in another region. Ideally, the influencers you choose are going to live in that region, and you want to make sure that not just the influencers live there, but that their audience over-index for living in that region. But keeping in mind that the influencer audience can't be the end-all be-all if you're doing a regional test campaign like this. And that's because, influencers their content isn't limited to a region in terms of its distribution. So you need to make sure that you are focusing on who their audience is, but then layering in media that gets super targeted in that region. If you are also targeting a retailer that is more of a convenience retailer, meaning people don't drive a distance to go to it. So you're not targeting like a Macy's, but you're targeting a grocery store, for example, or a store in the drug channel. Those consumers go to those stores based on convenience. So I'm going to go to the closest grocery store. I'm not driving 30 minutes just because I want to shop at this particular grocery store. And if that's the case, you might want to consider not doing regional targeting, but on the media side of things, actually doing proximity targeting around those locations so we don't have any media waste and you can really get down to the audience that you're going to be able to drive sales with. For our retailers on the line, a foot traffic study is a great opportunity to kind of see not if a product was purchased, but if we actually got people into the store. The way it works, you do have to run media on this so we can get a control and exposed group. And in doing that, we're able to see of that exposed group, what was the lift of people who ended up going in store. Now, the downside for some retailers, if you're a high frequency retailer, for example, we explore this a lot for Walgreens. And, you know, because someone comes into a drug channel store once every 30 days or so, by the time you complete a 30-day campaign, you have completely washed out your sample. And so you're not going to see that lift because everyone, whether they were exposed or not, is going to come in at the same volume in the 30-day period anyway. So a foot traffic study can be a really powerful solution, but it really should be meant for less frequent retailers. And finally, you may have heard of this one already, so I won't belabor it. The Nielsen-Catalina study. This has only been done once in influencer marketing. It was for Silk almond milk. They found in this study that influencer marketing was 16 times better in terms of being able to drive sales lift than any other form, than the average digital campaign. And Nielsen actually said that it was the best of any digital marketing platform that they had ever tested in one of these studies in terms of results. So it is very scientifically accurate. The downside is it only works for content where Nielsen can pixel the content, which really these days is limited to blogs, unfortunately. Works great for CPG food brands because blogs and recipes are going to be pretty important for them, especially Silk almond milk, for example, which tends to be an ingredient brand. But, you know, so it's not going to work for everybody, but it's definitely something to consider exploring if you are a brand like that. The one thing just to keep in mind is you do have to reach a pretty significant scale. So what we've found every time we have explored this for CPG brands is you're looking at an investment of about 400,000 plus in order to reach the scale that Nielsen needs to make sure that their panel of 2 million people is able to get back enough statistically relevant data to run a study like this. So there's, like I said, we're going to talk about a bunch of different options. I'm going to talk pretty quickly because I do want to leave time for questions here today. And I want to just talk you through, though, there's a couple different things you have to do in setting up a campaign and designing your strategy to make sure that you're driving the sales measurement and that you're able to measure it. So here's some key differences. It's going to start off with the types of content and the channels you're running on. So there's certain channels, if you're doing that last touch attribution or you need to do any type of link direct to your website tracking, Instagram, one of the most popular channel for influencer marketing these days, not built to drive people off of the site. You can do swipe ups. Thank you, Instagram, for giving us that in Instagram stories, but it's really not built in terms of user behavior and in the way the platform is designed to allow for people clicking off. So if you're limited to organic, Instagram's not going to be a great channel for you. Similarly on Pinterest, absolutely built to drive people off, but Pinterest is very concerned about link bait content and about spam content on the site. And so they won't let you use shortened links. And some track links have a problem getting uploaded to Pinterest as well if they're concerned about there's too much going on in that tracked link. So the last touch attribution can sometimes be pretty tough on Pinterest as well. And then when you look at the content, long tail channels like blogs and YouTube, for example, I get a lot of new business inquiries. They come to us and they say, we want to drive traffic to our website, we want to convert sales, and we must have YouTube videos. YouTube videos are great. We talked about this a lot in the consideration webinar last week. They are not going to drive immediate sales. YouTube is a search engine. People use it that way as they're trying to do research. They're in the research phase when they're consuming this content. They are not ready to buy. YouTube is going to be very costly content that's not going to do a great job of driving those sales for you. Now, what can drive those sales immediately if you've got to get ROI on this campaign? Well, one is going to be limited time offers. You need to give someone, this is any marketing, you need to give someone an incentive to act now. So we did that with this mascara campaign for Revlon that I mentioned. You know, like I said, mascara typically a 3 to 6 month buying cycle. How do I get people to buy on this one Sunday at Walgreens where we needed to drive those sales? We had an offer where we could tell them you have to go in on Sunday to get this offer. So that was important. Mia Miley, the one in the middle here, that baby carrier, it was an offer running for 1 month. Haagen-Dazs, there was BOGOs running, we had sampling events running. So those offers are a way to get people to act immediately. Now, the other way to get people to act immediately, and I don't have sales data for this campaign because we just ran it, but this is a great example of a campaign where it's seasonal content. So you have people, they are in that mindset where they are looking, I'm looking for my apple pie recipe. I'm looking for my pumpkin seed recipe because I want to create, I need recipes for Thanksgiving. I need to entertain my family. Well, here you go, right there. There's my recipe, and I need Splenda stevia to get it, to make that recipe. Great. I'm going to add it to my grocery list. So when you use the seasonal content, you have people that are in a mindset to buy. You don't necessarily need an offer, but you're getting them when they're in that mindset, which is going to help your conversion rate. Mention the importance of the Facebook pixel. This is data that is pretty necessary for quite a few of the attribution models that I shared at the beginning of today's session. So it is really important that if you can get this pixel installed and you are running conversion campaigns online, that you leverage this pixel and you're leveraging media to optimize around the data this pixel is giving you. We talked last week about how we start to move people down the funnel. I mentioned none of this is going to work if you're not hitting audiences that are in that mindset to buy. So it's really important. And one of the things that's going to help your conversion rate on these campaigns is if you're hitting people that have already been moved down the funnel a little bit. And the best way we can do that is with these engaged audience profiles. Now, this is something we do. There's other ways to do this with retargeting and custom audiences and things like that. But this engaged audience profile is something we do where what we found is when we build a lookalike audience, so not just the people who did engage, we retarget them. But when we go and we say, hey, Facebook, build us a lookalike audience of the people that are similar to the people that have already shown us buying indicators, those people, those lookalike audiences tend to convert at a higher rate too, on average about 2 times better than just any other audience that we can build in Facebook. So these lookalike audiences can be pretty powerful in helping you expand your lower funnel target set. So with that, I told you I was going to talk fast. I want to make sure we didn't take more than a half hour today. If you have questions and you haven't already plugged them in, please pop them right into that Q&A box. I will spend just a couple minutes on questions, and then if you didn't get your question answered, or if you think of a question after today, you are welcome to email me. It's Erin, E-R-I-N, at Carusele.com, and I'm happy to answer your questions via email as well, because we are running out of time. So I will, well, I have 2 questions here. I'm just going to answer one, actually. So what happens if you sell online and in store? Okay, so I probably should have covered that with one of these attribution models, because I covered online and I covered just in store. The thing that we found to be brands to be most receptive to, so in terms of the brand leadership and what they're willing to accept, because a lot of this is built on assumptions, it has to be. We're working on borrowed platforms here. What we found works is if you know what the percentage of sales are online versus offline, typically for your brand at a particular retailer, you can run this online attribution model like I shared right at the beginning, where we're leveraging the Facebook pixel data, and then going from there. Let's say sales were $100,000 on this campaign, but we know that only 10% of sales happen online. Well, we're going to scale that up to assume that the other 90% of impact occurred in store, because we know that that is the standard customer journey. So we can make that assumption. That's $1 million in sales from an influencer campaign. Pretty good. I've actually never seen one like that. So don't go running to your boss saying that, hey, if we do this way, we're going to get $1 million in sales. But it is a place to start. We've been pretty successful in using that methodology for clients in the past, and the brands that we work with being pretty comfortable with that. So we are right at 2:30. I did have a question about selling on Amazon. I won't belabor this one, but just to say that Amazon will not let you install the Facebook pixel, but you can use the 1-day and 3-day window on the direct tracked links to get to some type of sales attribution model on Amazon. The one caveat, in order to get that data, I believe you have to have an Amazon storefront set up. You can't do it if you're just having individual products sold on Amazon. So Just something to keep in mind there if you do, whoever asked that question, if you have more clarifying questions around that, do feel free to email me. So guys, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed the webinar. We will follow up with today's recording. We also will send you the ebook so that you don't have to listen to me talk again if you don't want to. Just a short recap in ebook format of what we talked about today. And keep an eye on your email if you did miss any of the other previous webinars about the different stages of the funnel. We will be sharing a white paper in the next week or two that covers moving people through all stages of the funnel. So hope you enjoyed it. Again, I'm Erin Ledbetter for Carusele. Have a great day, everybody.